Yeah.
The Supreme Court is allowing a controversial immigration enforcement law in Texas to take effect while a lower court reviews whether or not that law is legal. Under the measure, state law enforcement has the power to arrest people accused of crossing the southern border illegally. That typically is under federal jurisdiction. Federal jurisdiction meaning that it is up to federal agencies like the Border Patrol to patrol the border, to enforce immigration law, not up to states. Yesterday, we had announced that Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito had extended an order that was barring Texas from detaining and jailing migrants. It seems that now, while the law is under review, it will be allowed the state of Texas to at least continue jailing some migrants. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez has been following this, and he is on the phone with us now. So, Camilo, this decision is not final, clearly. Can you talk to us about what the ruling is or where it stands at this point and how it differs from the news that we gave yesterday, where Texas was being held from being able to continue to stop and jail migrants?
That's right, Lily. The bottom line is that Texas state officials at the state and local level can now arrest, stop, and detain migrants who are suspected of crossing into the U.S. illegally from Mexico, and also allow state judges to issue de facto deportation orders against suspected violators of this law known as SB 4 that the Biden administration, Lilia, has argued is unconstitutional and interferes with immigration enforcement, which, as you know, has for many years and decades, in fact, been a federal responsibility, something that is typically carried out by agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, not individual states. But right now, the Supreme Court is allowing Texas to enforce this law through this procedural order that, again, as you underscored, does not actually get into the merits of the law or its legality, but it allows the state nevertheless to implement it while an appeals court in New Orleans reviews the actual legality of it. It is important to note, Lilia, that a federal judge in Texas has already said that this law is unlawful, that it violates the Constitution, and that federal immigration enforcement would be hindered by this law because, again, arresting and deporting migrants, are federal responsibilities. But that ruling by that judge in Texas has been stayed by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. That is now the court that will review the legality. But again, until that ruling comes to fruition, the state can implement this.
Let's talk about the practice. Camilo, I am old enough to remember SB 1070, which was a law that back in the era of Sheriff Joe Arpaio was extremely controversial in Arizona. And it was already decided in the year 2012 that you cannot pass laws like these. You cannot have law enforcement stop migrants without engaging in racial profiling, which is what made it back then unconstitutional.